What is up, people? All right, how many people? We got 7 people watching. The algorithms, awesome. The algorithms love disclosure. If I was talking about Skinwalker Ranch and portals, and well, we might talk about some portal stuff and some of that kind of science tonight. But what is up, guys? Tom DeLonge was banned from Twitter. No, he wasn't. Come on, stop with the fake news, guys. No, people start with Bob Lazar. He's like the big giant net that catches some people, turns a lot of the physics community away, like real scientists who are into this, try to get into this. They find a bunch of crap and they think it's all just a joke, and they take this stuck up, pompous academic attitude towards a lot of this stuff, which is easy to pull off and easy to keep the information compartmentalized and segregated on this type of stuff. It's still crazy that we still have people arguing about whether or not the government's recovered UFO metals or UFO materials, these crash recovery issues, and the whole distraction away from the fact that that's a fake picture. It's right. Why do they put this stuff? This is the ads that they promote. That's Google ads right on this is blackvault.com, by the way. Google ads puts that stuff out there, but this is a real object. It was recovered by this guy Bob White, and this is the 1940 CIC document. This is real UFO metals, real flying saucer debris from Denmark. You can download the 21-page document, see the chain of custody. Came from a naval compound that saw this UFO, chased it, and they saw it hover above this island and drop a hot piece of metal down before taking off, and they went and recovered the metal. Interesting case, but there's lots more in the UFO file that people don't know about, that we go back to talk about. All these different scientists who tried to build anti-gravity and discover anti-gravity, and we're involved in a lot of this top secret research that we've come to find out and learn about. Otis Carr, these hoaxers that we're familiar with. The Bob Lazar saucer came from Billy Meyer, who took the idea from this guy Otis Carr. But Otis Carr had some, ideas on gyroscopic propulsion that weren't, super far off, and were revived, and actually, later on, a decade later in the 60s with, Eric Lathwaite and Lathwaite's research into, the idea that gyroscopes could do this. And then the Sandy Kidd device and Myron Evans and that whole thing. We found that this device is in fact just riding the pole up and crimping it and riding the pole up. That's where it's not actually producing any lift or thrust that we can be aware of, but they're still super useful for these things and satellites, and also large scale aircraft. If you want to, if you got an aircraft and you're about to have a collision and you need to change your position really quickly, you can get a certain amount of jump out of these things to move a little bit, but it doesn't work as a long range propulsion device. But you can take some of that momentum and build it up inside of a rotational thing, and then move that quickly at an angle and use that to maneuver, to make a possible maneuver during flight that could avoid a collision. And certainly with satellites, you can use these things to navigate the trash field that's out in space, and the satellites are able to move up and down 20 feet, say like they can move up or down 20 feet depending on which way they flip the gyroscope. This is full vertical, and this would be full horizontal, but they can move the satellite a certain amount in space. So these things are useful, and they're all based on Newton's laws. And there was this whole idea of gravitation that we talk about, that they explored early on, and the idea that electromagnetic theory might be similar to gravitational field theory. And it turns out that that this, you end up with these Poynting vector analysis thing, and then you try to get these certain materials that and situations that can produce these negative Poynting vectors, and that kind of is an interesting approach that a number of people tried, including Robert Forward. I have the Forward stuff in here. I don't know if it's right there. I should put it in there. I don't think I have it, but yeah, it's interesting. I've traced back a lot of this research through, and I'm just filling in some interesting pieces now, which, I put some of this material out there like a week ago. Some of you guys might have been watching and caught that. But I pulled that down because I want to get all the reporting right. This is going to be a big story once this is all put together. And I mean, this is a lot of information that we could put together, and it's a lot of stuff that might have to be edited out. But I know a number of people like Darcy Weir working on documentaries on some of this stuff, but not anything that goes strictly into the science and the scientists who are involved in a lot of this post World War II research that was done under a number of organizations that led up to everything we have today. It's just, this is the whole history of it. It's very interesting, the influences that the intelligence community and others have had over the physics and these new ideas and just the ideas of you thinking too far outside the box is in terms of the technology. They want to keep everything, kind of limited. And, people are asking, oh, they're still waiting for this report from, the UAP task force and this government report for UAPs and stuff. Well, I'm still waiting for the report from the U.S. Army and that CRADA agreement. We have this UFO metals apparently, and this materials that they collected a bunch of these samples from this TTSA group that was supposed to bring us disclosure and everything. They collected all these UFO samples and metals from the public and gave them over to the U.S. Army. And now the whole thing just looks like a psyop or something. And now everyone's supposedly waiting for this report from the government, like they're going to tell us anything. Is this CRADA and this U.S. Army thing do they know about it? Is the intelligence even connected? I just don't get it. Yeah. Yes, thank you. Thank you with the YouTube algorithms, guys. That helps out. Even the comments and just posting hi and anything helps. So maybe we'll start it off. It's almost 10 minutes in, and we got a whole bunch of these guys. I'm going to be meeting these guys this weekend. We're planning the trip down there. I'm trying to get down there, guys. I was supposed to get some money from work and stuff. I have one job tomorrow, and it's going to be a little bit, but I have a bunch of bills I got to pay like right away. And so I'm not sure if I can make it down to the lab. I'm trying, but there's a big lab meeting this weekend where a bunch of people are coming down to do experiments, and we're all going to collaborate on some cool stuff to try to build this stuff in our labs and push technology forward. And by the way, I found a terahertz lab too right here. That's about 10 minutes from my house at the local university, and I'm going to try to get linked up with some people who are doing research there, or possibly see if I can't I don't know. Maybe I'll even apply to grad school there, because I've been super interested in all this stuff and putting these pieces together. But yeah, this is the CIC document, quite interesting, and all these lists of reported crash sites and stuff. Big issue with these UFO metals. This guy Gary Nolan, this scientist who was approached by the CIA. To look at metals for them, and the whole idea that the construction of materials on these spaceships could be, designed on a molecular and atomic level, and would just last and outperform and outlast anything that we currently have today in terms of, their construction. Just some of these things are really interesting. Like the memory foil from the Roswell crash has always, bothered me. Um, issue of the research that was done into nitinol and nickel titanium alloys by Battelle immediately following that is certainly curious. And the fact that a lot of this nitinol is apparently, according to the latest from our cold fusion scientist friends at MIT that I hooked up with back in 2014 and 2011 when they gave the first IAP course. 2014. This was, and they also had, I think this was also the same year as the colloquium conference where they had just all these scientists, all these cold fusion scientists, man. This was 10 years ago, and a lot of these guys were 85, 90 years old, and I'm not so sure they're all still with us. In fact, I'm positive that a couple of them are no longer with us. Indeed. And the community's not growing any bigger. There's not a lot of young faces. I was the youngest person there at like 35, and not a lot of young scientists getting super interested in this field or pursuing it forward. But the dream was there. It was still alive, and I tried to promote that and keep it going. And hopefully, I've attracted some more credible and competent scientists to the field. In fact, a number of the experimentalists on our team have been doing some experiments with cold fusion. But the latest from Mitchell Schwartz is that they're using nitinol for the cathodes and getting like amazing success in their reactions, using that as their cathode instead of the palladium. Works way better. We talk about some of the research that was popularized in the 90s. It was on TV shows, and talking about the future was going to be these types of craft and these things, and then it all disappeared because it went classified and went dark, and we have no idea just how far the technology's gone today. But it's interesting. Someone mentioned that where did Salvatore Pais go to? Salvatore Pais. They spelled his name wrong, so it might have been somebody else. It was a different Caesar Pais. Is what? Yes, they maybe his real name is Caesar Pais. Let's see here. I just want to see where he went to got his PhD. Case Western. Okay, so check this out. His PhD thesis is on bubble generation under reduced gravity conditions for both co-flow and cross-flow configurations, for which he endured a number of parabolic flights in order to produce a low-gravity environment. His doctoral advisors were Yasuhiro Kamotani and Simon Ostrach, who had carried out space lab experiments in low gravity aboard the shuttle STS-50 in 92. Pais's research was sponsored by NASA. Oh, that's interesting. So NASA actually sponsored Pais's research. According to Wikipedia, which, their source, NASA technical reports server retrieved. Yeah, okay, so this is it. It's 2009, and this is his thesis paper. And this is Salvatore Pais on NASA. Yeah, so some interesting stuff we find about the scientists that are public and some of their work that they've been doing. But none of this stuff is talked about in the mainstream. The idea that supercavitation can create these localizations of extremely high energies, which could be producing transmutation and fusion, and that combining these elements of nanoscience and just simple applications of known physical laws. I mean, PV equals nRT. What's the limit as V, your volume of your bubble, goes to zero? Well, your temperature goes astronomical, and you can reach very, very high temperatures if you force that hard enough. But there's other super interesting fields of science that are still unknown, and the Q division is another interesting area that I want to look into. And this quest for more powerful lasers, there's still a lot of this Q division stuff from Lawrence Livermore that's still classified, and it would be great to get access to the first working laser built in 1960, and then where the research went from there is anybody's guess. But we know that this was 69, I believe, is when Blue Book concluded, right? December 1969, right at the end of the 60s. So as they closed out the decade of the 1960s, 2 years later, they reopened this advanced concepts office for Edwards Air Force Base at the Air Force Rocket Propulsion Laboratory. And this project Outgrowth was, after a decade of laser research, since the invention of the first laser at the beginning of that decade of the 60s, to the end of that is when they did a lot of this research on lasers, and were actually developing lasers and new laser concepts and physics concepts for producing better, more efficient lasers and different types of lasers, and ways to create coherent, trapping and cooling and doing things with lasers, and also just the process of creating population inversions and materials. As our knowledge since the 70s has increased so much since then, but they were just starting to get the sense of that in the 1970s, and were realizing that their ideas of propulsion needed to outgrow rocket propulsion, and they realized that back in the 70s. Elon Musk still using rockets, but he has some things to say about the economics and efficiency of current, laser physics capabilities in terms of this. It's just, but I don't know if he has real access to the guys who are doing it, but they're out there. Find these guys might be interesting. I would have, if I was a billionaire like Elon Musk and I was in charge of all this, I would certainly have a division investigating all this stuff. John von Neumann, what an interesting guy. And then Robert Sarbacher, another interesting scientist, from the list of our UFO connected scientists of the past, the real Bob Lazars. People get into Bob Lazar and think that he's a fraud and just be like, oh, this stuff's a fraud and everyone's a fraud. And oh, well, there's real scientists who actually have credentials and actually do have the background and, do have the real documented connections to U.S. Air Force research or top secret research connected with, these programs. So, and we know the names of many of these scientists. I found them through my research, and we continue to find others. I'm finding so many more of the old scientists that were now, thanks to the help of a new contact that I've got in touch with recently. I guess I'll share the news with you guys. I don't know. Maybe I should ask his permission before I tell people officially that he reached out to me. But I have an interesting um, I had an interesting new person reach out to me, and we're going to be working on some research. It's not Sal Pace, no, but doing. He's interested in all the current research stuff, and also, he's real fascinated by the interesting work that I've uncovered, and the papers that I've pulled together, and a lot of the research that I've accumulated over the years of just being super involved with this and having the time and patience and dedication to this subject, because this stuff tends to disappear, and you have to grab it when you get it, and then hold on to it, and then no one else has it, and you find that 10 years later no one else has it. It's gone on the internet, and a couple people aren't. No one's really talking about it anymore, and a few people, oh yeah, I vaguely remember that, but if you didn't save it and hold on to it and get the sources and stuff, then it's gone. But the idea is that we got to take this idea. We got to be inspired and to build. If we're not working towards Star Trek, then what are we doing? Yeah, we're just building cool lasers. So Styro I would love to hook up with Styro and work on these polariton lasers. And these cavity laser cavities, because the whole idea is that it's laser topology, and that's how you use lasers and topology and these topological lasers to warp the fabric of space-time. Hey, anyone want to jump on here? I guess we'll open it up. I'm going to be launching the memberships, where this link will be available to members only. But I'm going to open it up, and I'm going to close the stream down because, I got a lot of stuff going on, and we'll talk about it behind the scenes if you guys want. I'm not ready to reveal who I'm working with publicly yet until he tells me so. But the research that we're doing right now is big, and I had to pull down that other video and some of that information that I've started to put together, because it's not ready. I have to get it all super organized and super clear. That way, all the facts are straight. And when it comes out, I don't want it to be like ATIP, where it's all it gets misreported, and any kind of error gets amplified or picked up, and that's used to later discredit it, like we see happening with that's used to later the current stuff with Stephen Greenstreet. Anyone seen his Stephen Greenstreet's recent video? He basically Greenstreet. Oh, it's the one from he keeps posting it around Twitter today. And he's bragging about how no one's debunked him, because and he's like, oh, I don't know if he scientific killer analyzes your per core bell. Yeah, I think the triangles. Oh, this is great. I can't view the tweet because he's ranking on Corbell, which I totally agree with and promote. Corbell is useful idiot, and he's put out there on purpose to distract and discredit the whole community. So so this is his idea, this domino effect, which is kind of interesting. But he was bragging recently a ton about his this one. Yeah, this tweet right here. I'm going to talk about this, man. And I just said, he assumes that they're not. He says If I was wrong, former Pentagon officials and multiple PhD scientists would leap at the chance to speak with me, set me straight, overwhelm me with facts, and embarrass me by proving just how wrong I am. And my reply was that you assume that they're knowledgeable enough to actually care enough to do so, or actually knowledgeable enough and actually care enough to do so. You also assume that your success in uncovering such a large-scale scam means that everything else under that umbrella must also be a scam too. So, it's he's debunked the whole ATIP thing and proved, that's what a fraud that was, but he hasn't really gone into the science of it and proved all that the science is a fraud. I mean, it's kind of wide sweeping, his analysis and his declaration of defeat over all this. But I'd like to get Stephen on. Stephen, if I know you work with Nick Pope, and a number of skeptics have criticized you for that too, because there's a lot of skepticism around Nick Pope as well. I got no hard feelings against Nick Pope. I don't think he's on the science. He's definitely not. I've met him. We hung out at the last conference over the summer, and he's not on the scientific level. He's not doing the work that's going to push this field forward, I believe, in my opinion. I am trying my best to introduce and bring out this work. But what's going to actually push this field forward is the science, and is the physics, and it is the deep dives into the technology and understanding the history of that, and what's real, what's not, and what is actually engineerable and can lead to really cool new technologies and stuff. So in any case, we got Bernard and join Jeremiah and Marky Mark on.
I was just popping in quick to mention that over on Tim Ventura's channel, the episode he did with Gary McKinnon, I mentioned to Gary to get a hold of you because he currently does Google search engine optimization. So hopefully he'll be able to look into the shadow banning that YouTube, owned by Google, is doing to you and maybe help out in some way. So if he does reach out to you, definitely get them on board.
Yeah, we've seen that with our channels. I'm not sure exactly what is it's all about, but there are certain things that turn people off, and we do a lot of controversial subject matter on this channel, because this is the place for it. It's where it's okay to be wrong and throw crap against the wall and find out what sticks and what doesn't. And that's we take our licks for being those lightning rods for innovation, so to speak.
Yeah, so, how dare you talk about electrogravity, torpedomagnetism, variable refractive index? Oh, you dastardly physicist! Variable refractive index? That's clearly impossible. You'd need an infinite negative mass.
What's the old saying? You got to be over the target if you're taking flack. And your channel has been taking flack for almost 17 years from what
How many years now? Yeah, 17 years. Man, he's been on the ball for so freaking long now. I mean, how many people in this community have been brought together? I'm going to count it in the hundreds from this channel alone. And these aren't like, one-off people with a similar hobby. These are professional, expert scientists who have devoted themselves to discovering the secrets of gravitation and all the field forces in the universe. Pretty significant link up.
Oh, no doubt. And then, not even that, the APAC alone, I mean, that stuff, half of it goes, well, probably 3/4 goes over my head, but that APAC is just, it's the coolest thing on the planet, because, I mean, it's just incredibly, I don't know.
Nerds like us who've wanted like a place for this kind of.
Yeah, it's so cool. So cool.
It's not a surprise they want to regulate the internet when we can do this so easily. Easily. Like, we could have done this for years. And it's just now that,
Well,
after
all
2020.
they can do is run
Right.
counterintelligence and disinformation ops to try to, lead people away from the real learning, because it's entertainment at that point. It's the people that there's people that really want the knowledge and want to learn and get deep on stuff, and then there's the people that are just like, oh, I'm just here for, are UFOs real or not, or you guys proved anti-gravity yet, or what the heck are you doing? How
Hey,
does it work
Zeddy.
again? How does it work again with those polariton condensates? And is it that element 115? Jesus, I'm just gonna go listen to Bob Lazar now.
Hey, Zeddy, you better have a fucking certificate for that forklift.
It's like, oh, you're not understanding the progress of scientists that we're of the science that we're trying to convey and put together here. It's just, it's not wrapping. They're not wrapping their heads around any of it, and I'm trying to. I do my best. I get intuitions, and I'm not always right.
Well, the day, Jeremy, that I meet somebody who totally understands all this stuff is the day I can easily check off one more mark for the hundreds of wannabe superheroes in this category. If anybody understands this, they don't understand it.
Nah, and even Feynman, like the greatest scientists of all time, man. They I don't know. It's interesting.
Huge luck. Argentina perfectly called it.
I come by it honestly.
I think we're gonna need artificial intelligence. I think that we are too dumb, dude. I think that we're gonna need like AIs. You guys, I'm gonna end the live stream here. We're gonna continue this conversation backstage because I gotta go help bring groceries in and some other stuff.
No,
Real
so
life.
do I.
Oh yeah. Oh, yep. Wife's calling. All right.
Girl, you hungry? I got your groceries.
Yeah.
Real men doing their job around the house.
Real man.
Right?
All right. Later, everyone. And look forward to when I can talk about all this new stuff the research that I did this week, and I'm going to be doing tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'm hoping to gain access to this library, and believe it or not, it's called the Rockefeller Library. So
That's gotta be good.
Oh man.
Oh Lord.
all right. So I'll tell
Thanks
you
for
more.
having me on, bud.
Secret.